What is going on, guys? We are back with another video today, and not really sure where this one's gonna go to start things out. We gotta rig a few rods, we gotta pick what we want to have with us today, and that kind of stuff. Only got a couple hours basically this morning to go fish, but one thing I wanted to do for sure is give a little detailed breakdown review on the Warrior Big Tiller, because we had a lot of questions on that. But today we're gonna go to a lake, which I have not been to at all. I haven't been to it this year. I don't think I've been to it this year. And so that's kind of the deal there. So it's basically like we're going to a new system to kind of try to break it down real quick. But summertime, obviously I want some search baits. We gotta put these two rods away right now. I need some search baits on here. Gonna need some kind of like drop shot or slip bobber thing in case fish want that. And then I'm probably gonna wanna have some form of power fishing rod, whether that's a jig and a plastic or a hyper rattle or something like that. So we got search bait, drop shot. Well, we're gonna get rigged up here, load the camera stuff into the boat, and I guess we'll see you guys on the lake. Well, welcome to the lake on a beautiful summer morning. Is that camera like a little bit like that, or is it just me? Oh, look at that. You know, we try to get a decent product out of my minimal knowledge of cameras, but it doesn't always happen like that. Well, welcome to the lake on a beautiful summer day. It's about 7:30 in the morning right now. And we only got like basically an hour and a half at this point to really fish. But Little Lake, haven't been to it yet this year. These little lakes are littered all over the Northwoods, right? Or really anywhere in the Midwest. And a lot of them fish, I mean, relatively similar, right? You don't have like big complex rock reefs on these bodies of water. You don't have like, these crazy huge interlocked reefs and things like that. So a lot of times you have a weed edge and points that come off the shoreline. That's the case out here. So basically we're just gonna run around. It's midsummer, so a lot of times early in the season these fish will be up on a shoreline. As the season goes on, they'll try to kind of progressively push out to spots a little bit more related to basin. So that's kind of the deal that normally is going out here. We're just gonna grab all three rods and put them up on the front deck, bass fishing style, where essentially we'll have a drop shot, the search bait, and a hyper rattle, all just kind of ready to go at my disposal in case I kind of start seeing what I like a little bit. So that's kind of the plan. Stay tuned, we're gonna get it going on, hopefully catch some fish, and then do the breakdown on the big Warrior, because you never would trust a review from someone who maybe buys a new pickup truck that just drove it off the lot, right? You got to put some miles on it first. At this point, we've put enough miles on it and fish enough different bodies of water to give you guys a pretty honest review. So let's catch a few fish and then we'll dig into that. And look at that right off the bat. This is why I always like coming into spots downwind, like working into the wind if I'm going to fish off the bow. Because essentially what it lets you do is just kind of like, once you get around fish like this, I can spot lock and just kind of hold here, right? Oh man, dude, first cast. Come on, he's still chasing. Oh, he's gonna go away. No, no, no. Well, there was literally a bite on the first cast. Should have let him eat it just a second longer. I was actually kind of surprised they didn't eat it like sooner. I feel like most time when I see stuff like that and I cast a search bait and it's like immediate bite. Right there. There we go. There's a fish. We're gonna keep this one buttoned up. Took a couple casts. Look at all of them falling out. Is this a smallie? It's a nice walleye. It's a nice walleye for a little pothole lake. You know, these lakes you generally don't see a whole lot of real big fish because they just don't really have the. I mean, sometimes obviously a weird freak one can show up, but for a lot of times you're hoping to catch fish that look just like this right here. And that's a nice one. That's a nice one to get the day going, huh? On the search bait. Now, one thing that happened is like I hit that first fish, and it was like all of a sudden they just vanished, right? And I don't know if that just kind of spooked them for a second, but then I went about 15 more yards kind of up the spot, and they were all sitting there again, right on a little point extension. And that is on the old 1/4 ounce search bait right there. There we go. A nice walleye, huh? For a beautiful summer day out here. Let's let that guy go. He's a nice one. See you later, buddy. Oh. Wow, dude, he came back for it. He came back for it. Couldn't resist. Wow, another really nice. That's a walleye. Another really nice fish here, man. He came back for it twice. These are some real good fish for a small lake like this. I'm impressed. I'm pleasantly surprised here. Oh, he's hooked kind of goofy though. That's probably why he was pulling a little extra hard there. Oh my goodness, that was the disappearing act right there. If you thought you had him in the net, now you don't. Oh, dude. Summer walleye fishing. I don't know if it just gets any better. You're up in the Northwoods. There's nobody on the lake, at least this little one. There's plenty of other highly pressured lakes we could have gone to this morning, but one of the good things about summer is it just, obviously, it's not 20 below out, but outside of that, is generally patterns stay the same for a long time. You might have fish more spread out in the summer than you will at other times of year, but generally the pattern will stay pretty consistent for a lot of the season. He's got kind of a messed up little dorsal right there, but hey man, we'll take him. There we go, about 8 casts and 2 fish so far on the search bait. Should have had 3, but I dropped the first one. Yeah, there he is. If it's a walleye. There we go. Took a few more casts on the drop shot, but we got one to go. We got one to go. Dude, super nice, healthy fish, man. You know, a lot of times you come to these small lakes and you're anticipating like 13, 14 inches, right? And hoping to get a couple 15s. These are some nice walleyes. There's obviously a bunch of them on this spot, as you guys can tell by watching the Mega Live. There we go. Come here, bud. A lot of these cookie cutter size. which is fine. They're a nice size to be cookie cutters, you know. They're real dark colored fish too. But we'll take them. It's a pretty fish. See you later, buddy. Yep. Oh man, we are having fun. We are having fun, that is for sure. This is gonna be something smaller. Oh, it's still about the same. Nice size fish, nice size fish. We'll flip you on in, buddy. They absolutely cannot resist. Oh, whoa, whoa. That little search bait, man. That bait, you guys are probably honestly getting sick and tired of me fishing that bait, but the honest truth is, on this channel, we like to generally fish the best baits working at that time frame. So it has been hard for me to take this thing off everywhere in which I have gone. Very, very powerful bait. All right, look at all those ones. I'm gonna hit them with the old drop shot here. See what transpires. See how they just kind of like moved around weird? That's them reacting to my bait, like right off the bat, which they all just ran away, so it's possible we already got one here. Oh yeah, one picked it up. He's just coming at me. Right there. Oh man, we are having too much fun out here this morning. Too much fun. And I think we started fishing at, what did I say, 7:30? It's 8:05 right now. That is a good time. That is a good time for sure. Little angry pothole lake walleyes. Come here, bud. Come here, buddy. There we go. They're all cookie cutters. But hey, man, that is fine by me. It's not like we're sorting through a bunch of smaller ones by any means. He's hooked a little bit deeper. We'll get the crawler out of there. Grab him by the gill. Come in through the other gill with the closed pliers. Grab that hook. Turn it backwards. Pop it loose. And just like that, he's going to be in just fine shape. See you later, buddy. There's one. Right there. There's a walleye. I didn't think that was a walleye for a second. Felt like it bit it and just started running way up high. We'll take him though, he's a nice fish. He's all wrapped up around his dorsal though. There we go. Now we got him in the mouth. That's what we're looking for. Well, as you can see, it didn't take long before we got the small lake crowd out here. But hey man, we'll take them. That's like 6 or 7, I don't even know how many we've caught in this short amount of time so far. It feels pretty good though. It feels pretty good. On that note, we might kind of dive into a little bit about the old Warrior and kind of give you guys the walkthrough, give you guys the experience now that I've had this boat for 3 months, 4 months, maybe something like that. All right, let's do the review. Like I said, did one of these at the beginning of the season, kind of the first day I ever had the boat out. Seems like an eternity ago now. That was probably late March, early April. It seems like forever ago. But did one of these like the second I picked the boat up. Now, you should never trust someone that picks up a boat and says, this is the best boat, right? Because they've hardly ever had it out on the water. There's no experience in it, things like that. But now that we have a ton of time on this rig, really kind of want to break it down just because they get so many questions. It's kind of a unique boat, right? It's a really big fiberglass, big tiller. like the biggest one that, you know, on the walleye fishing market essentially. And you hear all this stuff about different boat companies, and one I kept hearing about Warrior was like, once you get one, you're never going to want anything else. That's going to be it. And that was 100% true. But let's kind of give you guys the walkthrough and show you guys kind of how I have my boat, not just laid out, but where I like storage and things of that. And we'll go kind of quick because maybe this part of the video is not everybody's cup of tea, but we get so many questions on it, got to do it, right? So this is the bow. This is where I spend a lot of my time in the summer months, obviously, up here. Big, spacious bow room. And that's something you don't have in a lot of walleye boats. You know, I have a lot of times if it's just like me, Shelby, maybe Mitch is out, or whoever, one of my other buddies is out, and we're all kind of sharpshooting fish up here. Plenty of room for us all to stand up here and fish this way, right? Where we do a lot of this forward-facing stuff. Now, obviously, you guys have seen a lot of this forward-facing stuff in the last couple months, and one thing you have happen is as fish go deeper, you know, forward-facing comes more valuable. 2 feet of water, not as valuable in the spring. Deeper water, summer, very valuable. So that's why you guys see a lot of that. But the other thing I've noticed, now I obviously came from an aluminum tiller group for a long time, fished in those boats. One thing I noticed fishing out of this is that especially when I get a little bit of waves, or if you're a guy who likes to sharpshoot a lot of fish off the bow with a forward facing, having a very heavy boat is very important. Number one, if I see fish 80 feet out and I make a pitch, and I turn around to look at something in the back of the boat and turn forward, an aluminum boat in a light breeze, you're kind of like swung sideways a little bit, right? That does not happen in this boat. This boat tracks like straight as an arrow. And that's just, you know, a testament to the hull and the design of these boats. And part of that is having a fiberglass boat. But the weight, all that stuff keeps me very, very centered where I'm looking. The other thing is, if you get out in some rougher water, you know, 2-foot waves, 3-foot waves, whatever it might be, very difficult to fish this forward-facing style out of the front of an aluminum boat because you end up bobbing a lot, right? And that kind of distorts the screen naturally. You get a lot of this, maybe the things coming out of the water. Very impressed with how this boat fishes from the front, right? A lot of room, number one. Fishes very heavy and stays on a very straightened arrow if you're going to do a lot of this pinpoint fishing off the bow. So very impressed with that. Number two, the storage. Storage is out of this world. I mean, I do a lot of big trips where I might be fishing 3 states in 7 days, from the Missouri River to a Mississippi River to a Mille Lacs Lake, right? That's a lot of different tactics to be using in 7 days. So I might have 2 lead core rods. I might have 2 mono rods. I might have 2 braid trolling rods. There's 6 trolling rods right there. I might have, you know, 12 different spinning rods in the boat. And I'm still not even coming close to maxing out the storage potential of this boat at that point. One of my favorite features, hands down, you know, a lot of times when I'm fishing, I might just have like the 2 or 3 rods, which I know I'm going to use a lot up here. But let's say we're going to make a long run through rough water to the next spot, or we're just starting the day out. And I know I'm going to have 2 search baits, 2 hyper rattles, and 2 drop shots. These storage trays right here are just like unbelievably valuable, right? Because they're not in a rod locker getting tangled, and they're very easily like right at my disposal to pull out. And I can fit, like, let's say I bring my 11.5, 12-foot lead core rods with. These things will store like 13-foot rods. So it's crazy to be able to get rods that are that long out of the way. Or if you're just fishing a bunch of spinning rods, take the 3 rods you're going to fish that day, put 2 in one side, 1 in the other, and then all your rods are very easily accessible. You're not picking up the rod box all the time and getting rods out of here. Now we can kind of get into the other rod storage here for a quick second too. And this is obviously the big up the center locker. I only have 1 rod in here right now because I didn't think I'd need a lot of rods today. But essentially, you know, I can fit for sure 8-footers in there. All my spinning rods always fit in here. You know, most of the time I put my really long trolling rods there. But for sure 8-footers, and I can stack this thing full of like 12 rods, you know, no problem there. Also, as far as rod storage goes, a lot of times if I have rods, like let's say I might not be using all the time, or if I'm like, let's throw the lead core stuff in, we might not use it, right? These things will fit like 7.5 or 8-footers too. So all my trolling rods are telescopic, besides my 11-foot stuff, 12-foot stuff. So I can put rods in here and lock them up. And that's the same on both sides. You get 1 there and 1 there. So the amount of rod storage is absurd. This is normally where I'll keep like live bait if I'm using it. minnows, leeches, things like that. That's obviously a big front live well right there. Cooler here for like waters and things like that. These front storage containers right here, maybe we'll tip this down a little bit. Very, very impressive. I can fit all my clothing in here, and I can even put like camera tripods in here. Most of the time I'll keep a couple big like Dakota Lithium like big power banks in here. Dakota Lithium, if you're watching, thank you for powering this YouTube channel essentially. I kind of run those for like all my external batteries for cameras and charging mics and everything like that in there. In this side, I got like 5 life jackets, throwable paddle, flares, everything like that. Here's a testament to the dry storage. Obviously, I fish in a bajillion different conditions. The tags aren't even like moldy or wet or anything. And these things have been in here since the beginning of the season. So the very, very dry storage in these boats, and a lot of it. Now, obviously, I got the TKI ink mount here. I got my Mega Live here in the front that I run all the time. And the way this boat is rigged, so obviously I have 3 more hummingbirds in the back. Now, most time I keep 1 GPS, 1 side imaging, and 1 down imaging and sonar, so I can kind of see sideways, where I am, what's below me. The 3 main ones right there. I also have this linked to another Mega Live back here. If I'm gonna fish like a wing dam or something on a river, a lot of times I'll park up current and I wanna look backwards and not forwards because it's easier to fish that way and more effective. The way this boat is wired, and this is a testament to the boat center where I got this boat from, in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. They also have another location in Ramsey, Minnesota. I'm gonna say this, and this is probably the most important part of this whole video. If you are in the market for a boat, or maybe you have a boat, and you're like, man, I wanna update some graphs. I wanna put a forward facing on here. Really, whether that's Humminbird, Garmin, whatever it might be. Bring it to a place that's very good at installing this stuff and rigging it. That makes a world of difference. All my graphs are linked. I got tons of transducers, lives, trolling motors. I have not had a single issue with any of these things talking to each other. So if you're in the market for a new boat, or if you just want to get a boat rigged, and because it's very complicated these days, and with all the Ethernet cords, Ethernet box, all the different transducers, bring it to the boat center. You're going to be blown away by just how efficient everything is. You're not going to have problems with it. Everything's going to be done right. And that alone goes just miles as far as, how many fish you're going to catch, your enjoyment when you're on the water. Getting a boat rigged right from a place like a boat center is a world of difference. So huge shout out to those guys for rigging this boat. What else we got back here? This is where I keep most my tackle. Now I might spread it out if I'm just really loaded down carrying a lot of tackle. This compartment right here is a tiller guy. You open this up, I got, everything I might need in here for a day or a week of fishing. If we got slip bobbers right there, hyper rattles, tons of plastics. I mean, I can load this thing up with like easily 20 Plano boxes in here, I would say. And rarely do I ever have like a need for more tackle storage than just in this compartment right here. In the back, we have another big live well. You guys know me, don't keep a whole lot of fish, so that doesn't get really used a whole lot. But if you are someone who keeps fish or want to keep your red tails, creek chubs, whatever back in here, you can do that. The steering system on this boat is very unique to Warrior, and it's one of the things that make this boat so special. So obviously if I turn this key on, and I don't even really have to turn the key on to make this happen, but the second I start that boat, I can steer it like this. Now at first you might say, why on earth would you want to steer off a switch? And that is the initial thought, right? Now obviously I have another power steering hydraulic on here, so I can steer manually as well, just by turning that switch off. But the second I start this boat up, and we'll turn our spot lock off for a second here, once you get used to that switch, you're not going to drive the boat any different way. So let's put the boat in gear here. Got the trolling motor down, so we're not going to go super fast. I'll activate this switch, you kick back, and you drive just like this. And a little goes a long way on this when you're steering the boat. So it's not like at full speed, it's very different. Like this is a pretty big adjustment. That's going to turn the boat quite a bit. So it's not like slow and labored like you might think it is when you're just like going this speed. So it's very efficient. Or you can just turn that off and then drive it normal with the power steering that's that comes on these bigger tillers normally. So it's a super cool way to steer the boat with this switch, and it makes it very enjoyable to make long runs through rough water. Now, talking about rough water, that's where this boat really excels. If you're a tiller guy like I have been my whole life, and you're coming from the aluminum tiller side of things, you will take one ride in this boat and it will blow your mind how like it just mutes out all that rough water. Now obviously I've had this boat in 5-6 foot waves this year, and I've had this boat in a lot of 2 foot waves this year. And in 2 foot waves, aluminum tiller boat running at full speed starts getting a little dicey. For sure you start getting a little bit wet, right? We're gonna spot lock down real quick. This hull, the way it's designed to just kind of slice waves, and the way the bow is that comes up like this, and just testament to how Warrior builds their boat, unbelievable, man. The other huge addition, trim tabs right here. These are my trim tabs. So a lot of times if I'm running into heavy wind, I'll bury both of them, and that keeps my boat just, or let's say I want to run, I got a big wind coming from this way. I'm going to jack that back right trim tab up, and my whole boat's going to go like this. And essentially what you're going to have is it's going to mute out all that roughness, number one. Number two, there's no opportunity for spray or waves to come in, right? Because I got the boat leaned like that. This side's low, this side's high. It deflects all that water. So the ride is absolutely unbelievable. I love this boat. Now, one thing you might be saying, and this is the one thing that we get comments on, it looks narrow. It looks like it is narrower. This is a narrower beam than some of the other tillers in which I've had. Nobody, and I've had a lot of people say this, a lot of buddies, and nobody after they fish in it ever says anything about it again because the boat is so spacious, and you get such a big front deck, such a big floor section. In the back, it looks a little bit narrower because you have the big cockpit here, all my accessory switches, this big tackle storage, but that's what this is designed to be. This is a tiller fisherman's dream. Everything's right at your fingertips. My switch, my trim tabs, my graphs, my storage, back live well, accessory switches. Everything's right here, and that's how this boat's designed. My mind is absolutely blown with this boat now that I've had it for 3 months, and basically everything I heard about Warrior seems to be true. How it's like you will not want a different boat from here on out. So figured I'd do kind of a review on the boat. And that's kind of, you know, how mine's set up. Obviously I got rails and rod holders too if I'm going to be trolling, things of that nature. But this is pretty much how I set my boat up to be as efficient as possible. And that's one of the reasons I like a tiller. And for filming too, everything's very open. I don't worry about a windshield or things like that. But if you're a hardcore walleye guy, maybe you're in a windshield boat, this boat will exceed your expectations. If you're an aluminum tiller guy and you're a tiller guy all your life and you do a lot of stuff like I do, where maybe you go fish big water once in a while, this boat will blow your mind as well. So very cool setup. I'm absolutely in love with it. Pretty much everybody I've taken out has said the same thing. They're like, the second you put it on plain and rough water and start running, they just look at you like wow, yeah, it's that cool if you're, you know, coming from an aluminum boat or something else. But figured I'd kind of throw this out there. This was kind of the mid-season Warrior update, and absolutely love it. So appreciate you guys watching this one. I don't know, are we just gonna wrap it up now? I gotta be back by like 9:30 anyways. It's 9:15 right now, and we're gonna have a little bit of a lull in videos, but then we'll be back because I gotta take a little trip and then do some work and things of that nature. But soon we'll be back. I got seminars coming up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Minot, North Dakota, and Billings, Montana. The dates on those will be Sioux Falls, July 14th, Minot, something like the 22nd. I'll try to link these down below. Billings, Montana, August 1st. Are we gonna fish Fort Peck while we're out there? I think we're gonna try to make that happen. So appreciate you guys watching this video. A few walleyes this morning, little rundown on the old Warrior 2090, and I appreciate you guys watching this one. Stay tuned for more content. We'll see you next time.